Hi and welcome. This is the first in a series of demonstrations of art materials, and to start it all off, what I'm going to be doing is demonstrating how colour pencils blend differently on different types of paper. And I thought not only would I go with different texture types, but I'd also go in with different colour surfaces of paper. So, and then you can actually see how the colour differs on each background. So when you're actually sort of drawing something, you can then decide what background would work best for you. I'm doing these all in Polychromos pencils because although I have a larger set, these seem to be the set that most people start off with, and they're professional, but they're also cheaper than the more expensive ones. So this here is Clairefontaine Pastelmat, and this is light grey. Let's go a bit down on it. It's got, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's got quite a bit of a tooth on it. So naturally, it works with pastels. Clues in the name, but also it works really well with colour pencils. And so it's light grey, and I tend to use this one a lot along with the white one, and the dark brown is also a good one, and the dark grey, but it comes in a load of different colours. So I'm just going to start off with the Pastelmat. It's one where you need to be very patient with because it has a lot of tooth. You need to be layering with a light to medium pressure, and if you don't, then what happens is the tooth collapses and you run out of layers. So what you want is to be able to add as many layers as possible to make the colour more richer. And you don't need to have sharp pencils on this one, because where it's got a tooth, it's going to wear the pencil down a bit more. But what you can do is, if you're doing it for like animals or anything that's got like fine texture on it, once you've added your layers, that's when you sharpen your pencil, and then you go in and add all the finer details on top just to make it pop. So I'm going to start with the white. You don't need to sort of go onto the point, but if you notice, I'm holding the pencil further up, and you're not probably won't. Oh yeah, you can see it. And with this, it's always better to do round circular motion with the pencil, because that means that makes the pencil blend a lot better. And what I tend to do, as you may see this in some of my tutorials, is I turn the pencil a lot to save it sort of going flat. So I don't know if you can see, it's a bad choice with the white, but it gets flat on some of the surface. Now, because we're doing it on the light grey surface, you can see that some of the tooth is coming through, so the grey background is coming through. So what you need to do is just keep layering, and I'm not pressing heavily. I'm just keep going backwards and forwards and until it gradually fills up the tooth, which it's starting to do around here. Now, you have to have a lot of patience. So, it's one of those surfaces you shouldn't rush, but it comes out with the really good results. And the good thing with Pastelmat is because it takes so many layers, you get some really good results with it. So just keep sort of going with it. Don't give up, but don't sort of be tempted to rush it. And I'm just going around. Going around blends the pencils a lot better, and so you can't see sort of the lines as you're blending them. Okay, so that's all filled in nicely. And so the next colour I'm going to use is the dark cadmium yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in underneath here, so what you'll see is in a moment when we go onto a different surface, you'll see how the colour also affects the shade of the pencil. So I'm just blending that in with the white. And this, I'm using exactly the same pressure as I was with the white. Just that round circular movement with the pencil. I'm just going up into the white there, and then what I would do is balance that out a bit, so that gives you the opportunity to sort of blend that line a bit more with the white, so it's not such a harsh line. So just carry on a bit more with this. Okay, and then we will move on. Just make sure you blow the excess pigment off, because sometimes when you're doing loads of layer it does release a lot onto the pencil. Okay, so we're going to go in with the dark chrome yellow. So I'm going to start off underneath. So the dark chrome yellow is brings out more of an orangey colour, and you can see the tooth on that. And I'm just going to come into there. So with the Pastelmat paper, if you've not heard of it or used it before, you can either buy it in pads or you can buy it as single sheets. But shop around, some places do it more expensive than others. So I'm going in to the yellow, and then just balance that up with the dark cadmium yellow. So nice circular movements with the pencil, and again you can see that I'm not going like that because I'm not going to get that freedom of movement. I'm just holding it further up just so that I can get more of a relaxing range with it. Okay, so back in with the dark chrome yellow. So just got a bit more of that tooth to fill in. Sometimes you can get a batch of Pastelmat where the tooth is a bit off, or there's imperfections on it. So if you find that and you really can't draw on it, then you can send that back. Okay, so that's the tooth filled in on that level. And now we're going to go in with the orange glaze. So I'm just going to start just below this. So it's a slightly darker shade again. And I'm using the side of the pencil. I tend to sort of blow the excess pigment off of the surface. Sometimes, I mean, you can use a soft brush, but sometimes, I mean, this is like a makeup brush, but sometimes what happens is it smudges the pigment all over the page, and you don't want that to sort of ruin your drawing. That's actually pretty good to use on drafting film. So I'm using the same light to medium pressure. It's just going in to that dark chrome yellow. This also, if you're going to do, I recommend that you do something like this if you're not used to the surface. It's a good exercise to know what your pencils can do and what the surface can do to the pencil. So let's go into that dark chrome yellow just to balance that out. And because we've not gone really too firm and too heavy handed with the pencil, there's still layers where you can, you can add on top. That's that. And then I'm just going to go back in with the orange glaze just to fill in the rest of that tooth. So you can see with where we're doing it round, you can sort of see how well it sort of blends in together. So just keep sort of going backwards and forwards with this. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the light cadmium red. Again, side of the pencil, so you can get more coverage. Just going to bring it up into the orange glaze. I don't know if you can see there, it's got some lines on it, so that's got this piece has got a slight imperfection on it, but it's not dark, which means, or sorry, it's not deep, so it means that I should be able to get rid of it by adding the layers. So this is not too bad. So I'm just going up into the orange glaze. And then I'm going to come in with the orange glaze just to balance that out a bit more. Just to sort of reverse and sort of bring that in as well. And then back in with the light cadmium red. So yeah, so this surface where it's got a bit of tooth on it, you might be able to hear the pencil over the surface, and I'm still pressing. You might sort of be able to hear the pencil on the surface, and I'm just running the pencil over it. I'm not sort of pressing down too firmly with it. Okay, we're going to move on to the Pale Geranium Lake. So with my tutorials, I always mention about round circular movement with the pencil, just so that we can blend the colour without there being, you know, any lines, obvious lines on there. So this has got quite a bit of imperfection in it around there, but that's okay because I'm just demonstrating blending on the Pastelmat. This is just an offcut of a piece. I tend to sort of keep all my offcuts for either swatching. So if I'm creating a larger drawing on the light grey Pastelmat, yeah, if I'm doing a larger part on the light grey Pastelmat, then I want to swatch the colours on a smaller part so that I know how the pencils are going to look when I add the colour, because each colour pencil will behave differently on different surfaces. Let's bring that up into the light cadmium red. And then I've got the light cadmium red, and I'm just bringing that in there. Okay, and then go back in with the pale geranium lake. As I say, I do love the colours of the names of these colour pencils and the different shades. So we've got more of the tooth to fill in around here. And you'll see in the video notes that the names of the colour pencils that I'm using. So if you don't have Polychromos, then just use the shades that you've got, like, you know, that are nearest to these. But this will sort of give you an idea, and then if you want to sort of, whilst you're watching the video, just sort of go in as well and do the same sort of exercise. Doesn't matter if you've yeah, so that you know you can sort of do the exercise at the same time. Don't worry if you don't have the paper. Just use whatever paper you've got. If you've got different types of paper, then, you know, use that. Right, let me just go in. Do I want that one? I'm just going to go in with the coral. So it's quite light, although it appears quite light. When it goes straight onto the surface, it comes out a different shade. That's a good thing I didn't use this part of the paper. So I'm coming up into the red, well, the pale geranium lake. When you're colour swatching, you can also do your sort of layering, but going across in a bar. So you can sort of start with a really light pressure and then just gradually go heavier and heavier with the pressure, so that you can see what the pencil's going to look like with light use, medium and heavy use. Right, so I'm going up into that, and then I'm just going to use the pale geranium lake just to come down tend to use this colour quite a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go in with the Pink Madder Lake, another good name for a pencil. Yeah, this imperfection carries on quite a way down. That's fine. Works well for scrap paper and also for swatching. And because the quality of the paper, yeah, it's sort of, you know, you could just use it for the swatching and things like that, so it doesn't matter too much with the imperfection on there. But yeah, if you're going to swatch, just you know, it's always best to do it on the scrap piece of the surface that you're actually going to be using. And then just balance it out with the coral. And then we'll come back in with the Pink Madder Lake, just to sort of fill in that tooth. So this, on this paper, as you see, you can see because of the different many layers that we have to add, it takes a bit longer. But I mean, look how sort of vibrant those colours get when you do add all of those those layers. So I'm going to be using a light magenta here. You'll find that some of the next surfaces I use, they don't have as much tooth, so it won't take that long to add the layers in. Some people, when they get buy new sets of pencils, they'll swatch it all on one piece of paper just to see what their colours look like. I've got mine swatched on paper, and I downloaded the charts off of someone from Etsy. So then it's sort of, they give you the right order that the pencils appear in their colour families. Just going to sort of balance this up with the Pink Madder Lake. And then back in with the light magenta. And then we're going to go in with the crimson. See, I always thought crimson was red, but in this set it's a purple. Got two more colours after this. So you can sort of see what we're 25 minutes in, and it's taken us that long to do, you know, a small swatch of colours. So that's why you need patience when you're using Pastelmat, because it's worth it because of how vibrant the colours come out. Just going to get the light magenta. And then go back in with the crimson. Okay, and that's filled in. And then we're going to come in with the blue violet. Again, still using the same pressure. And this is although this, like I say, this is a demonstration of blending on different types of paper. It's actually also a good exercise for blending as well. I'm just going to get the crimson. And then just come back in with the blue violet. And that bit's almost filled in. You'll be able to see if there's still some tooth available coming through, because the you'll see the lightness of the paper poking through your colours. Okay, so then we're going to go in with the Delft blue. This is the final colour for this one. So the Delft blue I probably would go with, it's like a purpley blue, more onto the blue side of things. And so of course if I was adding other colours, then a natural thing would be to go into like maybe indigo, and then the dark blues into the lights, then into the greens, and then into the browns. And just get that blue violet. So the blue violet, although it's got blue in the name, it's more of a purpley colour. And then just a bit more of that. Okay, let's just zoom out on that one so you can sort of see it's taken us half an hour to swatch those colours because of those layers and blending them all in together. But it's one of my favourite surfaces I like to use. So, you know, because it gives off vibrant colours, you can get a lot of detail on it. So if I was to add detail, so maybe on the top, let's have a look, you'd get a fine point. Let's sharpen that. Sharpen the Delft blue, and I don't know, if I just zoom in for a bit for you, and you could let's pretend it's fur, and you can sort of get all your fine details on there on the top. So that's why it's important not to sort of collapse that tooth straight away. And you can add your finer details on top. So you don't sharpen your pencils with the layers, you just sharpen it to a point to add the texture and the detail. And then of course you've got the warmth of that red poking through the Delft blue. Okay, so that's the Pastelmat. Next we're going to move on to, let's just come out a bit more. This is Strathmore toned grey paper. So it's thinner than the Pastelmat. The Pastelmat is quite thick, it's more like card. So this is really thin, but I used to use this a lot for drawing human portraits in graphite pencil, but I've also used some of it for colour pencil. So this is going to work a lot different to the Pastelmat because it's smooth. There's no tooth, so you can't add as many layers, so that's why you have to go careful when you're adding your pencil layers in. So if I just start off like that, so you can see so you can sort of build up the layers. There's not so many layers to build up because there is no tooth. There we go. What I'll do also I've also done in the description is I'll put down links of where you can get these surfaces from, and also where you can get the pencils from if you don't have them. These pencils you can buy them individually. I get mine from the colour pencil shop. If you're in that's in the UK, I'm sure you've got other ones for the States. I think is Blix, and I know there's other ones for other areas of the world as well. Okay, so this is, see, I don't think you get as good a blend on it. This is the dark cadmium yellow. So it goes on nicely. So for the next tutorial I'm going to be adding to the community and also to YouTube will be a feather study, which will be done on this paper. But you won't have sort of, you know, random sort of colours to sort of mix in. So there you can sort of see it mixes really quickly. You can also see, because it's a darker grey, it comes out differently. That's why it's worth it to actually, if you're going to be drawing on this paper, to swatch on this paper as well, so you can see how your pencils are going to turn out. Okay, so this is the dark chrome yellow. The darker you get, the easier it is to sort of get rid of the colour behind it. It's a nice paper to work on, definitely. And so I've done, it works lovely with graphite. And if you were using, I don't know, your greys, like your warm and your cool greys and your blacks, it would also look really nice on here as well, because, you know, with the white and the lighter greys, it's going to turn out, you're going to see it and it's going to come out really well. So you always want to sort of be thinking about the pencils you choose and the background you're going to put them on, because you can also sometimes use the background of the paper as part of your drawing, so you don't have to sort of use a lot of pencil on that part. Okay, this is the orange glaze. So you can get a nice blend on this, and you can do layers. But like I said, because there's no tooth on it, you have to go so careful. It's a bit like when you're working on drafting film. And I still turn my pencil around so that I don't have to keep sharpening it. I'll just zoom in for you a bit. That's it. Now I'm still using that round circular movement with the pencil. And I'm still using the same sort of pressure on it, but it sort of fills in the tooth a lot quicker. This is the light cadmium red. So I did a quick colour swatch earlier of the pencils I was using, and this is Fabriano Artistico hot press paper. So that's got a tooth on it, but again that comes out a lot different as well. So this fills in quite nicely, this tooth. It is a slight tooth, but it is pretty much smooth. So yeah, this is a toned grey paper. They also do a toned tan paper, and that's a really nice surface. It's actually the same surface, but colour is just different. And colour pencils go down well on that as well. I drew my very first dog picture on that. Okay, now we've got the pale geranium lake. like that. Again, see the round circular movement I'm doing, so you don't see any like obvious lines in it. And this is the coral. So again, some of these appear quite differently on darker paper than they do on lighter paper. So if you're doing a picture on this paper, then what you're going to want to do is have a look at your colours that you want to use, swatch them, and maybe you might need to go either a tone darker or a tone lighter. Okay, we've got the pink Madder Lake. So yeah, I mean, you don't sort of get the pencils getting as blunt on this surface as you do on the Pastelmat, which is why on Pastelmat you only sharpen your pencils on the topmost layers just to sort of save them. Otherwise, if you're going to keep sharpening them, you're going to find you're going to have to keep replacing the pencil each time. You'll also find if you're drawing a specific subject like I do with animals, that you tend to go through certain shades of colour a lot quicker than other shades. So for example, browns, greys tend to be a bit or black and white tend to be ones that I go through a lot. Okay, light magenta. This is a lovely bright colour, but it doesn't sort of come out as bright on here because of the dark background. So if you wanted a brighter colour, then you would have to have a look to see what's nearest and use that, unless you want this to come out this particular shade. And this is the crimson, or the shade of purple. So it does blend lovely on this paper, these pencils. It just takes a lot less layers to do it in, so that's why you have to go very careful and really plan out your colours and your texture. And then we've got the blue violet. So although we're going into a different direction, still using that round circular movement with the pencil. And finally the Delft blue. And then of course this pencil's still sharp, so let's have a look to see if we can add detail to it. So yep, so you can still add your finer detail to it with a sharper. Obviously you wouldn't be adding purple onto red, but I'm just sort of, this is a demonstration. If you were like using, I know, browns, then you would use a different colour brown on top of another brown. So yeah, so that's that one. Okay, so this one is Strathmore Bristol Vellum. So I used to use this one quite a lot, so it's quite thick. It's got some, yeah, it's quite smooth, and of course the pencils are going to show up differently on here as well, so you're not going to see the white, but it's there. Now you can do white on white paper, so like if you've got drawing an animal that's got white fur, what you can do is, if you've got the white fur on white paper, actual animal fur isn't just white. If you look at it, you'll see other colours coming through, so you may have some cool greys, you may have some blues. So you would actually, you can bring out the white by using the darker colours. See, this is smoother than the toned grey paper. I forgot how nice this paper is. I've used colour pencil on this before. There's so many different surfaces. You've got mixed media as well. There's black. Yeah, the hot pressed paper. I wouldn't recommend using pencil and cold pressed paper because it's so difficult. This dark chrome yellow. You're not going to get it. You're going to be fighting it all the time. So if you want to use any watercolor paper, I would recommend the hot press. The Fabriano Artistical hot press paper is my recommendation. And I'm actually doing a wolf tutorial at the moment for the members of my art community, and we started off using watercolor pencils, Faber-Castell ones, and then activated it with water, left it to dry, and then we're adding Polychromos pencils on top, and it's coming out absolutely lovely. So it gives kind of like a painterly effect to it. And then on a cat's eye focus lesson, I used dry pencil for the base layers, make sure the tooth was filled in, and then I used Zest It odorless mineral spirit to blend those layers. And then once that's fully dry, add the Polychromos pencils on the top, and that gives it another effect as well, makes it look quite fluffy. So this blends really well on this paper. Again, you've got to go in quite light with it, plan your layers, but it sort of blends really well. Light cadmium red. So although this is smooth, this surface, you do have a slight whiteness coming through, so you need to sort of make sure that the tooth is full, and it will take less layers to do it in. Okay, and then we'll come in with the pale geranium lake. And again, it goes down really, really well. So if you do your round circular movement with this, you don't see the lines and you can blend really well with it. It's just with all these different sort of textures of paper, you've really sort of need to sort of work, you know, really sort of got to sort of make sure that you're planning your layers, you're not pressing too hard on the surface. But you can get some really great quality drawings out of these. This is the coral. So that goes really lovely over the other shades that we've added. So you can just sort of, you know, just for practice, you can just sit there, music on, and just practice shading and blending. Okay, we're going to go with the the pink madder lake. And this, where it's so smooth, it just goes on really lovely on this surface. I haven't used this surface for a while, but it's really great. You can get some, yeah, you can get some good quality shading done on this. It's just all about teaching yourself or following tutorials about what each surface can do, and the more practice you get, the more you'll sort of find out what each one can do. So you might sort of, for instance, decide that you're going to work with one type of surface for a while, and then you end up changing, but then you've got to change the way that you add your colour. This is the light magenta. Like that. So it comes out quite well on this surface. So if you compare that to there, oh, you can barely see it on there. So that's why you need to think about yeah, so if you really want to use this and you really need to sort of think about the colour of the surface that you're going to be working on in order to get this to stand out. So that plays an important role in your work. Now for the crimson. So, I mean, this is quite a darker shade compared to the light magenta, but look how well it blends on there. It looks natural and it doesn't look harsh at all. And you see the importance of the round circular movements. Whereas on the other paper it sort of really was contrasting quite obviously. So if you do lines like that you can see it, but if you go like that quite gently, it goes really well. And it makes the pencil feel a lot smoother as well. I may do a tutorial on this surface actually, I really like it. I tend to sort of stick with the usual ones with Pastelmat drafting film, hot press paper, but I think I'm gonna do more tutorials on different surfaces, just to sort of teach you what it looks, what each one can do and what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to come in now with the blue violet. It just feels so smooth. I can really recommend this. Okay, and then finally the Delft blue. So I could show you so many different surfaces, but I thought I'd just choose these ones to give you some ideas of what it can do and how, it affects the colour pencil. All about layering, blending, and how the colour pencil actually looks colour wise. Okay. So compare it. They look quite sort of dull and muted on there, so that's why I think it's better for the blacks, whites and greys to go on this surface. This is much more vibrant. And again, let's try out. So you kind of like need to push a bit harder, but not too much, and you can still do fine layering on there. This surface will probably be better actually with human portraits rather than animals. Yeah, but lovely surface. And our final surface is Stonehenge paper. A lot of people say that this is quite close to using, is it the Derwent Lightfast paper? And the Derwent Lightfast paper is lovely paper, and Derwent Lightfast, I mean, if it's made by Derwent, it's going to be amazing, but it can be quite expensive, and this is the most affordable option. So it's like card. It's thinner than the Strathmore Bristol Vellum that we've just used. It's slightly rougher than that surface. I won't, well, the white sort of, no, see, the white doesn't stand out, but you know, you could get it to stand out, use, you know, depending on the subject that you're doing. So just going in with the yellow. Let's just zoom in for you. So because it's got a tooth, you're going to need to layer it up, but it's not as much of a tooth as the Pastelmat. Pencil goes on lovely with that. It's a really lovely surface. So you can sort of add more layers, sort of make it richer. We're just going through and just adding the different layers of shading. So again, blends really nicely together. You can get a lovely richness with that. And of course, when you're blending, you're adding more layers on top. So yeah, so you can sort of don't press too heavily, so that you know you can add on top of a shade that you've already added pigment to. There you go, and you can sort of blend it so it looks natural, like that. So this is a lovely surface. So you can draw animals on this surface. You can human portraits would be a good one to do. I've not used this surface a lot, but I do know a lot of people do use it. I might sort of, yeah, I might do some tutorials on this, but yeah, I sort of tend to sort of go for other ones, but I think it's always a good thing to sort of practice using different ones. So I might do a focus lesson with this one, because you can get some good blending with this. Might do some of the nature tutorials. I think this will, some of the botanical drawings would look good on this paper. Like that. And also, because it's white, you can actually see the colours just as good as you can with the Bristol Vellum. It's just slightly different surface, with more layers, slightly more layers needed. But you don't need to press hard again. You can just go over it lightly so it just glides over it. So yeah, this is lovely. It's like the affordable version of Lightfast paper. And just look how lovely that is. I think that's why I think it'd be good for botanical drawing. So this is the pale geranium lake. You can get some good things on here, like crocuses. I think would look lovely on this surface. Yeah, this is lovely. And the coral. So I'm trying to use it without sharpening, because I've used these a lot. But this is going down really, really well. And then we've got Pink Madder Lake. So basically all this is doing is just showing you how well you can blend each of these pencils on all these different surfaces, and basically how they're going to appear, and they're going to look different on different surfaces, and you're going to have a different finish on them because of the tooth or lack of tooth. So this is the light magenta. And then the crimson. So again, the crimson goes onto this surface absolutely lovely. It just doesn't look harsh at all. And it just glides over the surface, these pencils do. So yeah, I'm going to definitely be using this surface more. I'll say I think the nature ones will look good on there. Okay, and the blue violet. Let's see what it's like. Blending in through here, so it actually blends really well. Going over lighter colours as well. So you can go in different directions. And you can just gradually build your layers like that. So like you're cross hatching it, so you're going down that side and then coming across this side. This is absolutely lovely. Okay, and then the final colour is the Delft blue. And then just go different angles. And you can get different shades of blending in colour. And then you can go different directions just by turning the paper around. Yeah, this is a really great surface to use, and then you can also get some texture on that as well. So just do some cross hatching. So yeah, you can do that as well. So I hope you've enjoyed these colour swatching and testing on all the different surfaces. And you can sort of see how different each one comes out. Let's just see if I can get that in there. So well, you didn't see that one, but that's what I did beforehand. So that's Fabriano's, just to go hot press paper. That's Strathmore toned grey. You've got Strathmore Bristol Vellum, and then you've also got the Stonehenge. So I'll put links in the notes of the video of where you can get them from, and also a link for where you can get the pencils from. So I hope you enjoyed learning all about this, and I will see you next time.